Good morning. This is Ports and Palaces podcast. It is July 29th.
Yes, we've got an amazing podcast today. We are going to be interviewing one of my amazing clients. She just got back from a cruise on the Disney Dream that went to Nassau, Lookout Cay, and Castaway Cay, and she's going to be telling us all about it. So if you are going out to one of those islands or on that ship soon, this is a great podcast to clue into. She also has a toddler and a school-age child, so this is good for anybody that's needing to know kind of how that works with kids of different ages or cruises with babies. I get this question a lot, so this will be a great trip report to go through. So today we're doing a trip report with one of my lovely clients, Amanda. She went on the Disney Dream and saw Castaway Cay, Lookout Cay, and then Nassau. But I have a feeling she did not get off the boat for Nassau.
Correct.
So we are going to let Amanda introduce herself and take it away.
Hi, I'm Amanda. I'm a pediatrician. I live in Dallas, and I recently sailed on the Disney Dream with my family. So it was me, my husband, and then we have two children. We have a son named Ben, who is 7 years old. And then we have a daughter named Maeve, who is 1 year old. And then, so there are the four of us. And then we, on this trip, we also sailed with friends who we know from home that they were in a separate cabin. And that was a family of five with three kids. And so there were 9 of us in total. And we had a great time.
Yeah.
That's a big party.
Yeah, it was. It was a big party with 9 total, like I said, but 5 kids. They have twin boys that are 7. So we had 3 7-year-old boys. Then they have a 3-year-old boy, and then Maeve, a 1-year-old girl. So it was a party for sure.
Yeah. I know we put in a request for y'all to sit together at dinner. Did that get granted?
Yes, absolutely. Perfect. We had one table for all of us, and it was perfect because we put all the kids on one end and the adults on the other end.
A little bit of separation.
Yes, I think it worked out great.
So take us back to the day before you left. So July 13th.
Yes. So that day we flew out of DFW. We flew direct flight straight to Fort Lauderdale. Flight was easy. Everything was smooth. We took in a shuttle from the airport to our hotel, which we stayed at the Hilton Marina Fort Lauderdale Hotel. It was about a 12-minute shuttle ride. So it was super quick and easy. And they picked us up and all of our stuff and dropped us off. I had text messaged Hilton through the app, and they had told us that our room was ready. So we were able to get checked in. And as soon as we checked in, the Disney Cruise Line table was immediately to the right. And there were 2 very kind ladies sitting there. So once we finished checking with the hotel, we went straight to them and checked in with them. And they gave us our passes to ride the Disney Cruise Line bus the next morning, and then just kind of gave us an idea of the itinerary and what to expect. They were very kind, answered all of our questions. And then we went up to our room, and the hotel was very clean, friendly. And with our room, we had it was kind of a standard hotel room, but we had a balcony, and so we could see the marina and all the boats, which was really fun. We actually spent a good bit of time out on the balcony. That's the first thing we did. We just kind of relaxed in the room. Yeah. And then the boys stayed up there, and I took Maeve in the stroller on a walk thinking she would nap, just kind of around the deck of the marina. And it was so pretty and peaceful. Yeah. And they had benches set out that you could sit on and just look out. And so we did that a good bit. And then we got hungry. So we actually asked the hotel staff if they recommended anywhere local that we could walk to eat. And so they sent us in the right direction. And we ended up eating at this cute little Greek restaurant. And we sat outside on the patio. And so that was fun. And then we walked back. We were pretty tired. So we just, relaxed, but called it a night pretty early. And then the next day we got up and we got ready to get on the boat. So we were able to get on the bus at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
And so everyone who was staying in the hotel, which was actually quite a few guests who were going to be on Disney Cruise Line transportation that day, came down to the lobby around 10 o'clock. So that was kind of fun. There was a lot of positive energy and excitement. And like we got to meet other families who were going to be on our sailing. And so that was actually really fun. And it was really well organized and smooth. The Disney Cruise Line reps there, they had character signs, and your pass that you had gotten on when you registered had a character on it. And so whenever they held up the sign for your character, we were Dumbo. You just formed a line and then walked out to your bus. They had people there that helped with your luggage. And then you got on the bus. It was super clean and comfortable. And they had little TVs that gave you kind of an overview of your cruise ship and the amenities. And then they also had some of the characters on there, which my daughter really liked. And so it was a pretty short shuttle ride, probably like 10 or 15 minutes, maybe. Yeah.
I like Fort Lauderdale. It's so close. Like people are like, oh, it's going to take me so long. And it takes you 10 minutes.
Yes, it really did. So it was super quick. We got to port and we were initially in group 4 to board, but because we used the Disney Cruise Line transportation, they bumped us to group 3.
Yep.
So as soon as we got there, we walked right in to security, and then we were in, which was very smooth, and checked into the flight. And then we waited in kind of just their like little waiting area until they were actually boarding. So we were ready to go before they even started boarding.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we waited there for maybe, 15, 20 minutes. And then they started boarding, starting with group 1. But there weren't that many people in group 1 and group 2. So that went really quickly. And then it was group 3. And I would say we were on the ship by probably 11:30. So it was pretty quick and smooth. We got our picture made as we walked in, which I recommend. Probably my favorite picture of the whole trip. And then we got on the boat. The first thing we did was we took your advice and went to the Enchanted Garden to get our Remy reservation changed so that all 4 adults in our group could sit together at the same time. And we went there first. There was one other person in line. And so it was our turn pretty quickly. And they had 2 options for us. And one of them had a window seat. So we took the 6 o'clock with the window seat. So we all got to sit together and by the window. So that worked out great.
Perfect. I was wondering about that.
Yeah. So that worked out great. So we wrapped that up and then we went to eat at the Animator's Palette, which is the restaurant that's open on embarkation day. And there's the buffet also, but we just kind of felt like we just wanted to sit down and have someone wait on us and just kind of catch our breath and ease into it. And it worked out great. The service food was all great, of course, like you would expect on a Disney cruise. And so after we ate lunch, we went to the kids club. They had open house that started at noon that day. And so by the time we finished up lunch, I think it was like maybe 12:30 or 1. And so I had registered them online, but we just kind of finished up the last couple steps in that process. And then we went into the kids club and just let the kids play. And they had a blast. There was good.
You were on the Magic, your last cruise, and then this was kind of the next step up, the Dream.
Yes.
How did you compare the kids club between the 2?
It was just bigger, and there were more options. The one on the Magic they had a craft area. They had like an Andy's room type area that had a slide. They had a lot to offer too. And I feel like the Dream had all of that plus a little bit more. Like they had the Star Wars station. But then everything too was just kind of, it was just more to it. And it was bigger. They had like a big floor that they kind of had their dance parties. And so when we went for open house, they had these bubbles that were projected on it. And when you stomped on the bubble, it disappeared. And so Maeve loved that. That's pretty much all she did. And so the counselors were all there, or cast members were there. And they were there to help kind of interact with the kids and walk them around to the different areas and show them what was there. And we met a lot of families that way too. And so we stayed there for a good bit because the kids were happy. And let's see, if I'm going too fast, slow me down.
No, you're good. I was just thinking the value of transportation there. You were done on the ship, had lunch, and were in the kids club before most people even get on the boat.
Yeah.
So that
it was awesome. I highly recommend you staying at the Hilton Fort Lauderdale Marina Hotel and then using the Disney Cruise Line transportation. It was seamless. And like we were on the boat, and like, the other families I saw that were there, they were in their swim gear, and they had planned to go straight to the aqueduct as soon as they got on the ship before everyone else did. So I think if you have a little bit older kids, like kind of the preteens, that would probably be our strategy. So it was great just to have that time, those extra few hours. So,
and helped you not feel so rushed.
Yeah,
we weren't just easing into it.
Yeah, and the few things that were on our checklist to do, like the Remy reservation, the kids club, those were just easier to accomplish. So I felt like that was a really good decision to go that route.
Yes, it's always recommended.
Yes, it's worth it. It's worth it.
It is. Okay, so you did the kids club.
Yes, we did the kids club. And then we just kind of explored for a little bit. And then before we knew it, it was time for the muster drill. And so that process was really smooth. You just see where your designated area is on your key to the world card and go there and they check you in. So there was, nothing really to it there. It was really just quick and easy. And then on our sailing, there were thunderstorms around this time. And so the sail away party was moved to the atrium.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we took the elevators down to the atrium, and we went to the third floor. So we were on the floor, but there were people obviously like on the fourth and fifth floors in the balcony area. And so I felt like it was the sail away party was a little bit more abbreviated than what I experienced on the Magic, which I suspect is just because they had to transition it into an indoor venue, and so that probably changed some of their performance. But but the music was great. The characters were all there, and it was just a great way to kind of kick off the trip.
Were you able to still hear the horn?
Yes, they put it over the speaker system.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We have lucked out. We've never had to go in the atrium for a sail away. So I was interested,
Yeah, so they did that, and that was great because that's part of the excitement is like, oh, it's official,
Yes.
And so I was glad that they played it over the speaker system, so you still had that experience.
Yeah, I'm glad they gave that.
Yeah, and
so were you able to head to your room?
Yes, and we went to our room. Our luggage was there. Brian took the kids and explored so I could kind of unpack and settle in. I like to, make sure we're all unpacked and suitcases are under the bed. And so it was easier to accomplish if it was just me. So we kind of split up for a little bit then. And I will say, while backing up for just a second, while we were in the lobby area at the port terminal, we updated our Disney Navigator apps and made sure that we were connected. Brian and I, my husband and I did, so that way we could text each other through those apps. So that was a great time to do that. And it's important to just take a moment and make sure that everyone's connected and linked, so that way you guys can text message.
Let me ask you a question.
So
a lot of people have issues.
Yeah, we did not buy. I had a little bit of trouble hearing that question, but I think it was asking if we bought the internet package.
Yeah, he was wondering. We always have issues with connecting for a chat, so we just always buy the internet. And he was wondering, did you have to buy the internet, or did the app work okay?
The app worked great. We didn't have to. And it also, once we met up with our friends, we linked with them too. And so the four of us were linked and didn't have any issue. So that was good.
On a side note, I know Shanna had some transportation issues. Was she kind of okay when she got on the boat?
Oh yeah. Did you hear about all of that, or do you want me to tell you?
She told me just in a quick text message. She was like, our flight got canceled. She arrived at like 1, I think, on arrival day. So I was quickly trying to tell her, like, here's a shuttle you could use. So I wasn't sure how that all played out.
They made it. So they ended up leaving DFW Airport. They drove to Oklahoma City in the middle of the night, took a flight from Oklahoma City to St. Louis, and then from St. Louis to Fort Lauderdale.
Wow.
And so they got on the boat, I think it was around maybe 2, because I texted them when we were at the kids club just to be like, hey, I wanted to check in, because we really weren't sure if they were going to make it. And they made it on the boat. They were exhausted, but the kids were so happy and excited to be there. Yeah. My son was like asking a million times when we were going to see them. And I was like, Ben, they've had a really rough 24 hours. We're just going to let them kind of unwind. And when they're ready to see us, they'll come find us. But they made it. And then Cliff's truck was at the Oklahoma City airport. So Sunday after we got back, Brian and Cliff drove together to Oklahoma City to get his truck. And then they drove back. So they were very creative in getting there, and they made it.
Yeah. So that reminded me of a question. You had said this trip was a surprise, right?
It ended up not being a surprise.
Okay.
We had talked about surprising the 7-year-olds with it, but we ended up telling them. So
okay. And they knew both parties were coming?
They did. Yeah.
Okay.
They did. We couldn't keep it a surprise. We were just too excited. So
we have never made a trip surprise. I couldn't do it. Yeah. I would slip up.
Yeah. So let's see. So we did muster drill, and then that night we had dinner at the Enchanted Garden, which was great. And then for entertainment that night, they had the magic show with Blake Hoyt, I think was his name. He was great. He had a great story that he shared, kind of just shared like his personal career journey, which was inspirational. And it was like a very much like, believe in your dreams. Like I wanted to create, design new magic tricks for these magicians in Las Vegas, and people told me I wouldn't be able to do it, and I did it. And so that was just kind of a fun, it kind of highlighted like the Disney believe in your dream theme, and it was like a real life person. So that was cool. And so we did that. And then after that, everyone was pretty much tired and we went to bed. So slept great. And then the next day we woke up, and that was actually our Castaway day. And so we were really excited to Castaway, because then when we had sailed on the Magic, there was only one port, and it was Progreso, Mexico, and we didn't get off the ship. So we stayed on the ship the entire time we were on the Magic. And so that's what I was really excited about with this trip, was getting to get off and go to the Disney Islands. And so we got up, had breakfast at Cabanas. Maeve, the 1-year-old, she wakes up at like 6:30 every day. So we were down there early, and then we were ready to get off the boat around 8:30 when they started letting people off. So it was really an easy, smooth process to get off. We just needed our key to the world cards for everybody. Then we got on the tram. We rode the tram to the second stop at Pelican Point, and we got off there. There weren't very many people there at all, so we had no trouble getting beach chairs. And it was great because we got a chair that was kind of like between, you could see really well like the playground and the water slide, which is where Ben spent most of his time. And then we were also kind of saddling the line between that and the beach, where they had the sand and the water, because that's where Maeve spent most of her time. So like I could be in the water with Maeve while she was digging around and splashing, and then I could still see Ben and Brian on the slide and wave to them. So it's like both kids were doing things, because we have a big age gap in our kids. And so part of the struggle we've had, and part of the reason why we love Disney cruises, is that there's something for everybody. And so both kids were happy, but we still were kind of together as a family. And so we did that for a really long time, and just played in the sand. And Brian and Ben did the slide a long time. And I bought, I didn't bring sand toys in advance. So I bought the little Disney Cruise Line ship sand toy set. It was great. It was $25, and it was like shaped like the ship, and then it came with different pieces inside. It was probably the best $25 I spent on the whole trip. It was hours of entertainment. And so I bought that, and then I did buy a smoothie in the Olaf souvenir cup.
Did you get one?
Yeah, and it was so fun. Maeve loved it. She said, Olaf. So I did those things. And then our friends, like I said, they had a really rough 24 hours. So they had a much slower start. They made it to the island probably around 11:30, I think. And so they joined us, and the boys played and did the slide. We took Maeve to the splash pad, which is another great setup. So where we were on the beach, you just walk back, and then there's like a little path that you cross, and then there's a splash pad. So it was super close. It was crazy close. Like you could even see the entrance to the splash pad from where we were sitting. And so it was easy to kind of go back and forth. And she loved the splash pad. It was shaded. So they had those kind of big tent-like shades over it. So she didn't have any, she had sun protection, and she could just stay there, for a long time. So she was really happy there. And see,
I remember the first time we did the splash pad at Castaway, our daughter was a little older, and I kind of looked at it as an adult, and I was like, this kind of looks lame. Like, it's just some spouts of water.
Yes.
We stayed like 2 hours. I had the best time.
Yeah.
So.
And you're right. Yeah. It is unimpressive when you look at it, but she was perfect for her. We had lunch at the barbecue, which was great. I mean, they had plenty of seating. There wasn't really much of a line at all, because we ate kind of later. Because like I said, our friends didn't get there till like 11:30. I'd say we probably ate maybe 1 or 1:30. And so that was smooth. And then after lunch, we did play a little bit longer. And then we got back on the ship and got cleaned up. And then after we cleaned up, we paired off with our friends. And then we did the midship detective. So, and that was probably in like the hour or so before dinner. And so the midship detective is like a game that you have to solve a mystery, and it takes you around the ship to different places to find clues. And there's 2 different mysteries. So we did the Muppet mystery because my son likes the Muppet. And the older boys, the 7-year-olds, they had a blast with that. The 3-year-old and Maeve couldn't have cared less, but the older boys, they had a blast. And my husband had a blast. And so we did that right up until dinner. And then we went to dinner. And that night we were at the Royal Palace, which was beautiful on the inside. So that was great. And then that was our first night with a show. And I love the shows. Yeah. That's probably my favorite part. And in fact, when we went on the Magic, we took my mother-in-law with us, and she took Maeve back to the room every night while Brian and I and Ben went to the show. And we weren't going to take her on this trip. And so I had asked Brian, I was like, can you take Maeve back? Because I really don't want to miss out on any of the shows. Was like, yeah, of course, I'd love to have time just to hang out in the room and play video games or read or whatever. So he took Maeve back to the room every night after dinner. And then Cliff, Shanna, I, and all the boys went to the shows. And so the first night it was the Golden Mickeys. And it was, just phenomenal. The talent level there, it blows my mind. It's literally like a Broadway performance every night.
Yes. I like how they also do the setup in front of the theater, like it's like an awards show. That's really cool.
Yes, it was really cool. And especially the second night was the Disney's Believe. Both of them they were just kind of like I don't know what the word is, montage maybe, of like different Disney movies. And so Ben and I would be like, we would try to guess like, and especially with Disney's Believe, there was a little bit more obscure movies, which I really appreciated, like Mary Poppins, and there was, just less popular ones, I feel like. So we had a fun guessing game with that, but it was great. And then after that, we went back to the room and everyone went to bed. I like to kind of wander around by myself some after, everyone goes to bed. I'm more of a night owl. So I did that a little bit. Just by myself, wandering around the ship. But yeah, so that was
looks so different at night.
It does.
I don't think people realize.
It does. And it definitely has a different feel at night because a lot of the little kids are in bed. So I really enjoyed that. And I did that on the Magic too.
Yeah. I wanted to make a note. If someone has to stay in the room with Maeve next time, you can actually watch the shows on your TV.
Oh.
Yeah. Nice. So if you go to the guide and scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a section that says Walt Disney Theater, and it'll give you specific times you can watch it. We had to do that a lot when our daughter was little.
Hey there, weird pause, I know. Had a little bit of a goof up with some of the audio. We were moving on to a topic with Amanda about meeting up with certain characters on the ship. It just so happened that she and Maeve, at random, met up with Minnie, and here's their story.
I got the best pictures and videos with Minnie, of them like dancing and looking out at the ocean, and it was just a really, really beautiful moment.
Yeah.
And so it was really, really special. We were really lucky that worked out because Minnie's her favorite. And eventually Minnie, no one else ever showed up, but they said that Minnie needed to go, check on the rest of the ship. And so
it was your own private moment with Minnie.
It was. And so when she left, Maeve actually cried because she didn't want her to leave.
Oh,
Maeve loves the characters. I know a lot of kids that age are scared of them, but she adores all the characters. That's her favorite part of the cruise. And so then we met up with our friends who wanted to meet Stitch. And so the line for Stitch was definitely the longest of all the character lines.
mm-hmm.
And so the boys, Brian and Ben, stayed with them and met Stitch. And then I took Maeve to the room to get changed. And I took her to the splash pad that was on the ship. And so we went to the one on the Magic, and it was very unimpressive. I mean, Maeve was she was barely a year old, so she had fun. But this one was, there was much more to it and to see and do. And they actually had a little slide.
Mm-hmm.
And she is my fearless child. And she went down that slide, I would say 30 times, and it didn't matter if she flipped on her belly, she hit her head, nothing. She didn't care. She just was grinning ears to ears and would just want to get back and do it again. So Maeve and I spent a lot of time there that morning, and that was really special. And then we had lunch that day. Well, the boys, they went to the kids club after they met Stitch. And then we kind of all met up and had lunch that day at Cabana's, which is always great. I love the variety.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's see, what else did we do? I had to look at my notes. And then that afternoon was when the boys discovered the aqua dunk. And they loved it, which they had been asking to do the water slide, the whole time, basically since they stepped foot on the ship. And that was because of the Castaway Day, that was kind of really the first chance we got to do it. And so they did the aqua dunk over and over again. And I took Maeve back to the splash pad. And that's when we just really kind of enjoyed Deck 11. We got the drink of the day, which actually we got the drink of the day every day, except the first day.
It's a good value.
It is. It's a great value. And the drinks were great. And I didn't do that on the Magic. So that was something that I discovered on this cruise, was the drink of the day. And also I discovered that the special coffees are not as expensive as you think they are. So if you're like me and you only like iced coffee, it's really worth it. So those are two things that I discovered. But so we did that. And then we kind of got cleaned up, went to dinner. That night we were at Animator's Palette, which we had eaten lunch at on the day we got on the ship. And then they did have like a little bit of like a screen show at that dinner. On the Magic had like live entertainment for 2 out of the 3 restaurants. And I really liked that because they had the Rapunzel show at Rapunzel's, I think it was Rapunzel's Royal Table maybe.
Yep.
And then at their Animator's Palette, they have a much kind of more elaborate show. And then actually on our sailing, Mickey came out at the end in the wizard outfit. And so I loved both, but again, I love the shows. So I loved both of those things, and I missed that on the Dream, but I knew that going into it. I knew that the Dream didn't have those. And so we definitely still enjoyed everything, but it was just a nice touch that made it extra special. And
that is something about the Dream and the Fantasy that people talk about a lot. Like on the Magic and the Wonder, there's a lot of show dining, and that comes back in the Wish class. But the Dream and the Fantasy doesn't have that. And
I wonder if maybe they'll add it at some point. Maybe, I don't know. But
I like the older version of Animator's Palette better than the Crush version.
Yes.
I think it's more exciting.
Yes. I did too. I liked the Magic version better. I felt like it just kind of celebrated all the different animated movies. And and I loved that. So, and then that night was the Disney's Believe show, which was probably my favorite. And I think because I loved that it picked out songs from like the less popular movies. And I mean, I loved Mary Poppins as a kid. And so getting to see Mary Poppins and watching that was just amazing. Pocahontas. I mean, just like the less common ones that I loved. I'm trying to think. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I mean, there were just a lot. The Wizard from The Sword and the Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just like I said, just the less popular ones. And so that made it really special, I felt like. And just the story, too, with the man and his daughter was really sweet.
I like that you said that. Everyone's so focused on the current movies.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see those.
Yeah. And it was, that's what I loved the most about it. So that was our Nassau day. It was great. We didn't go to Nassau though. The next day was our Lookout Key day. And, obviously we went to Castaway first. So that was, and I don't know, how things would have been if we had done it in reverse. But we had same kind of setup. We had breakfast at Cabanas, got up early because we have a baby. We were off the ship by 8:30. And then, so when we got up in the morning and we looked at our veranda, we could see the pier. And that's when I'd read about it, but I didn't see any pictures of it. And I imagine some boardwalk you would see at the beach, but it's no, it is like a very sturdy cement pier that walks through the ocean. So I actually loved it. I mean, I get why people say it's long and it's hot, but I loved it. I felt like it was so special to take this walk through the ocean, and you could look out both sides, and the water was beautiful. And they had a drink station at the halfway point and benches if you did them. Disney obviously recognizes that it's long and hot and a walk. And so I feel like they did everything they could possibly do to make it as comfortable as possible.
What I don't think people realize is the other option was to tender. So people would have to wait for a boat to take them. That would take hours.
Yes. That was and it was as efficient as you wanted to be. You could walk as fast or as slow as you wanted it to be. You could take breaks. They did have, like I said, they did have places to sit down and have water stations throughout the length. And they had speakers and they were playing music, just fun music. And even my friend Shanna commented on that on the way back. Actually, she was like, I really like the music. It gives it kind of a, an upbeat vibe. So they wanted it to be a pleasant experience. And we got out and they had when we got off the ship, they had rows of red wagons. So we got a wagon and we put Maeve in it and our stuff. And there were really plenty of wagons. I didn't feel like, even though we were one of some of the first off the ship, but there were just so many of them. And then later on in the day on our way back, I saw that they had Disney created, this is just Disney in its glory. They had created this trolley system where they hooked up just this huge line of these wagons. And then they had a truck that drove them down the pier. So they would keep replenishing the wagons. So it wasn't once everyone walked the wagons down, they were all gone because Disney was driving them back. And so I felt like that was another way that they kind of tried to make the pier as approachable as possible for people.
Right.
And so we got a wagon and it was, so we walked down and sorry, I spent so much time on the pier, but I do feel like people talk about that a lot online.
That's important.
Yeah. And it wasn't as, daunting as it seems. It was actually kind of pleasant. So we got to the ocean, and we were actually one of the first ones there. So we got chairs on the beach itself, not behind the dunes. So that was really nice. It's definitely true. The beach is kind of more of a traditional beach that you would think of. There's waves. But the kids had a blast in the waves. I would say if you asked the kids which one was their favorite, they would probably say Lookout because of the waves.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And
it's Chad's favorite.
Yeah.
It is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's my favorite too.
It felt so much more, it felt like you were going to a Disney theme park. It just felt different than Castaway. I don't know, I kind of like, but then I say I like Castaway better, but I don't, part of me wonders if that's just because I experienced it first.
We have different opinions. He prefers Lookout for almost exactly what you said. He's like, it feels like a real beach.
Yeah.
I am not a beach fan, which is crazy because we love to cruise. I'm a pool fan.
Yeah.
And so I prefer Castaway. I actually kind of like they block a lot of the waves. It feels safer to me. But I hear that a lot. Like people are like beaches, they like Lookout. Yeah. And then the people that are kind of like, I like more of the controlled environment, they like Castaway.
I
Yeah.
also like the drink selection a lot better at Lookout than I do at Castaway.
Yeah, and they have people that wait on you and maybe they did that at Castaway. I didn't see them, but we stayed at the Pelican Point. We didn't go to the main area, but they had people at Lookout that would wait on us while we were at it. Um, and brought us drinks, which was great. Then let's see. So we did just did the beach thing for a long time. I brought the sand toy set back from Lookout. Again, it was a huge hit. The splash pad there is it's almost more like a water park. So there's much more to it, and they have 2 slides. And there's no age requirement or height requirement for those slides. And I know that because Maeve did them. And she was the youngest kid definitely to do them. But like I said, she's fearless. And so they were like, as long as someone's at the bottom to catch her, she can do it. So Shanna caught her and she loved it. So the splash pad was great. And it's pretty close to the beach. So not as close as Castaway. That's the other thing about Lookout is I feel like everything was just more spread out.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't, as close, but we were, and I forgot to say, on both islands, we were able to get strollers.
Okay. I was going to ask.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot to mention that at the Castaway part. So on both islands, we were able to get strollers. They were really nice strollers that had the big wheels that could take the sand. And so it was great, especially on Castaway, because the beach was closer, and I was able to kind of like walk her around the paved area, and she napped for a little bit. So I feel like we used it more on the Castaway day than the Lookout day, but it was just nice to have the option. So we did get a stroller on both days. And then let's see. We just played in the ocean in the splash pad. We had lunch at the barbecue. Now, this lunch, I felt like, and it may have just been that we ate earlier, because like I said, we had eaten later at Castaway, and this day we ate closer to noon. So I don't know if it was just that it wasn't as smooth. And I don't know if it was just there's more people or if it was set up differently. And I will say that there's signs above the entrances to the buffet that have different items listed on there. And so you feel like you need to go in that line if you want that item. But in reality, they had the same food everywhere. And they said that they said they just haven't, they had it split up initially when they opened, but they've since changed it. And it was hotter that day too. It was hotter on our Lookout day than our Castaway day. So maybe it was just the heat. But it just kind of felt like things were long. The line was longer and it moved a little bit slower.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
It's also not as grown up, so there's not a lot of shade.
No, there isn't. But we got a great picnic table underneath one of the shaded areas. What's the word for that? Like
a covering.
Yes, and it was by the fan.
Okay.
So it was nice. And then I didn't see any flies or bugs really anywhere we were. So
we haven't experienced that either. It must have just been the first few sailings.
Yeah, at either place. And so we had lunch, and then we played a little bit more out in the sand and went back and cleaned up in the ship. Getting back on the ship again, we had our stroller to get us to the tram. And then we rode the tram and got off and got a wagon and took that back to the pier. And then, of course, when you get to the other side of the pier, they had these big things of like water with lemon and lime and cucumber and cold towels. And so, it was great. And the kids went to the kids club after we got cleaned up, and then we got them out and we got them dressed for pirate night. So that was our pirate night. And they enjoyed getting dressed up, and we had dinner at the Animator's Palette, and it was the pirate night menu. So it was the same menu we had on the Magic, which was fine. I enjoyed it.
You've just broken Chad's heart. That's probably his favorite menu.
Yeah, that's
of
the
all.
funny thing. So a lot of Kirsten's clients call back and say, the pirate night menu is just awful. I was like, pirate night's my favorite menu. What are y'all talking about?
Yeah, no, I like it. I did get something different though. This time I got I want to say it was grouper maybe, But I got the same dessert. But yeah, no, I like it. I think it's great, but I'm not picky.
The jerk chicken with the pineapple salsa is the best.
Is it? That's what I've read. But I will say, so we eat so much chicken at home. So both cruises, I have made it a promise to myself to not eat chicken.
Something else.
Cruise. Yes. So that even though I've heard that the jerk chicken is the best, I have not ordered it because I won't eat chicken.
That's okay.
But one thing that was cool on this cruise that I don't think they did on the Magic is they had like an abbreviated pirate night show at 7:30.
Okay.
For the younger kids. And I don't know if that's like a well-known thing or a new thing, but they didn't do that on the Magic because we kept Ben up until 10 o'clock. And so it was still daylight outside. And it was like the beginning of the pirate show from what I remember, it seemed like it was the same with Mickey and Minnie and then I remember on the Magic, Captain Hook comes in and Jack Sparrow, and then it gets kind of dark, more darker. I remember there was a lot of felt like heavy metal music, and it just kind of seemed, so they toned that down a little bit. All the happy Minnie part was the same. And then there was still Captain Hook. And then it just, that part kind of ended quicker and in a more positive note. And then there obviously weren't any fireworks. And so they got to have like the pirate night experience, but we didn't have to keep them up till 10 o'clock, which would have wrecked them the next morning.
Yeah. They do that. So moving on to the Dream. So from the Magic and Wonder, they split that show into two because they did get feedback about the darker tones of the latter part of the show. So you do have the Mickey and Minnie's at like 7:30 around that dinner time. And then they do the 10:30 show, which is more traditional. And that's the fireworks.
Yeah. And so they don't do that on the Magic, or was that just our sailing?
It's just one. One.
Okay. That's what I remembered. And so I had mentally prepared myself to keep these kids up because I didn't want them to miss out on that. And then when they told us at dinner that there was a earlier version for the younger kids at 7:30, I was like, this is great. So we did that and then put them to bed. And then I went down for the big show at 10 o'clock because I just like it, and the fireworks. And so I got to see all of that. But everyone else was tucked in and in bed. So that was our pirate night experience. And then
did the adults dress up?
I wore a black jumpsuit, and then I just tied my bandana. So kind of, but not really.
Chad has a shirt that he wears every pirate night, and I have a black jumpsuit, like a gold shirt. Yeah. Yes.
The black jumpsuit is, and there were lots of women wearing black jumpsuits.
Did y'all get your kids' faces painted for pirate night?
Oh, did you do the Pirates League?
We did not. No.
Okay. That's okay. Our 4-year-old, she wanted to be a zombie pirate and took it all off in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, she'd had no nap. And so, kids, when they don't have a nap, they're just whiny. And I made the mistake of telling her, you can't hug me in my black jumpsuit. You'll get makeup all over my outfit. Had a full meltdown. Take it off right now. I don't want it anymore. I want to hug you. Oh. So we got 4 minutes of that $70 experience.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, no, the boys wouldn't have been, that's just really not their thing. They were much more interested in sword fighting each other. So
Of course.
Yeah. And then our last day was an at-sea day. And so we started that day off with breakfast at Cabana's, and that was also obviously Mickey churro waffles, which I loved on the Magic, and they were just as great as I remembered them on the Dream. And then that morning we had reservations at 9 o'clock for a royal gathering, and Maeve loved every princess. So we met Tiana, Rapunzel, Ariel, and Cinderella. So there were 4. And I think on the Magic, there were only 3. And she loved them all. And then actually, it ended up that not long after we were done with that, Mulan was up above, on the 4th floor overlooking the atrium. So we walked up there and got to meet her too. And we had we'd never met her before. So that was really exciting. And Belle. Maybe it was Belle and not Cinderella. I take that back. Because this was Maeve's first time meeting Belle. And Belle is is probably her favorite princess.
Okay.
So that was a big deal. She was very excited about that. And then after Royal Gathering, we did more aqueducts, splash pad up on the 11th floor, or deck 11, because they wanted to do that again. And then that night we had reservations for Remy at 6. And so we knew we wouldn't make the show. And the show that night was Beauty and the Beast, which I was very excited about. So we went to the 12:45 matinee show.
Okay.
And so it actually worked out great, because I think if I had missed a show for Remy, I would have been actually pretty heartbroken. And so having Remy on our last night, so then and I don't know if they do this for every cruise sailing, but they did it on the Magic too, where the last night they had at a 12:45.
Mm-hmm.
So if the shows are important to you and you want to do a fancy dinner, do it on the last night so you can still see the matinee.
Yes.
And,
as long as the last day is a C day.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. So if it's not a C day, they don't do the matinee.
That's what we've noticed on our cruises and my clients' cruises. If it's like a Nassau day or something like that, they don't do it. Someone on here will correct me, but I'm pretty sure it's just C days.
I was thrilled that it worked out that way, because I would have been so sad to miss Beauty and the Beast, because Beauty and the Beast was amazing. We actually, Ben and I, about a month or so back, The Lion King came through Dallas. And so we went to see The Lion King, which is the first time I'd seen it on Broadway. And they had the first time I'd seen any kind of show where they had kind of taken an animal or animated character and transformed it into a live version. And so they kind of had the same technique for the Beauty and the Beast characters. And so it was really fun. So that was great. And then we actually, after that, we played shuffleboard, which we did that on the Magic too, and Ben loved that. And so he wanted to get that in on this trip. And so we hadn't done that yet. So we did that. And then we got ready. I went back to the room and just started to kind of organize and start thinking about packing, because, we had to have all of our stuff out by 10 o'clock for them to carry our luggage. But we had Remy at 6. So I actually managed to get everything packed up and out before we went to Remy. And then.
Wow.
I know.
Good job.
Yeah, I was pretty proud of myself. And for some reason, I have not mentioned this, but we did use the nursery for Maeve for a total of about 15 hours throughout the cruise. I don't know how I overlooked that. So we did a 4-hour block for Remy night from 5:30 to 9:30. And honestly, we used every minute of that. So I thought, we don't need 4 hours for dinner, but we did. And so we had a great experience with the nursery the whole time. I forget which days I did how many hours, but I know the total was about 15 hours. And so for people who are nervous about leaving their baby there, the caretakers were very attentive, and they went above and beyond to keep her happy and entertained. She was happy when we dropped her off. She was happy when we picked her up. She napped there. They gave her snacks there. And they can message you throughout the app if there's something that comes up. And when we were at Remy, actually, and I think it was because it was at night, she got fussy, and they actually called the restaurant at Remy, and the host brought the phone to me. It was a cordless phone, and brought it to me at our table, and I talked to them, and they just told me that she had gotten fussy. And then they had actually they did a little craft with her where she made like a dinosaur with her handprint. And so she settled out and got happy again. So they knew that we were at dinner that night. And so they just kind of went above and beyond just to keep her happy and entertained. But we did send her with a blanket, like a little tiny blanket every time. So she would have that when she napped. The nursery was great. So I wouldn't hesitate to use that again. And so we did that.
You said you did 15 hours, and pre-booking you can only do 10. So did you add some when you got on board?
I did. And then and they were super flexible. So like, for example, for Remy, our reservation was initially at 6:30. So we had booked it from 6 to 10. But when we moved our Remy reservation to 6, I asked them if I could change it to 5:30 to 9:30, and they were fine with that. And like one day I went to pick her up and she was sleeping, And they were like, we can wake her up, or if you want to add on another hour, we could keep her. So I added on another hour and kept her. And then one day I had only had an hour booked, and she had been really fussy that day. And I felt like an hour wasn't going to be enough. So they tacked on another hour. So I was really polite when I asked. I was like, I understand that you guys have numbers and staffing and all of that. So I understand if the answer is no, but I just wanted to ask if it's possible to keep her another hour. And they were like, yeah, of course.
Good.
So I think just don't hesitate to ask, because they might be able to do it. So yeah, so that was great. And then the boys went to the kids club, and then Remy was, I couldn't have imagined it. I mean, I have never had a dining experience like that in my life. And do you really, until you experience it, you couldn't imagine just, so we went with our friends. There was 4 of us, just all the courses. And I mean, we watch Food Network a lot, and, we know about Michelin stars and whatever. And so just to be able to experience that was so fun. And Brian and I both chose the French course, or French pathway or experience or whatever. And then Cliff and Shanna chose the American. And we all got the wine pairings with it, which I recommend, because it was so fun. Every course had its own wine. But just whenever they would bring out a dish, there were 4 different waiters, and they would all put them in front of us at the same time. It was, I don't know, it's hard to even just describe. I mean, everything tasted amazing. It was beautiful. It was just truly like a once in a lifetime kind of experience. And the day we got off the ship, the 19th, was actually our 11th wedding anniversary.
Yes.
And so we told them that, and they had they brought out in this elaborate silver egg, this chocolate cake that had gold dusting on it that said happy anniversary. And so it was just a phenomenal experience. Have you guys ever done it?
That is one we have not done. We are not the fancy of eaters. Yeah. We like to say we like chilies. Yes. So we haven't been able to jump onto that with that price, but eventually.
Yeah, that is true. You definitely have to have an adventurous palate, I think. I enjoyed everything, except there was one thing that was just more of a texture issue for me than a flavor issue. But yeah, it's definitely for the adventurous eater, because I mean, they tell you what it is, but you don't really necessarily know everything that's on your plate. And so, but it was great. It was a great experience. And so then we got the kids and went to bed. And the next morning, we actually saw the magic for the day we got off. We did the sit down breakfast, but this time we did cabanas, and I felt like that was a lot easier. And that's probably what we'll do in the future too. So we did cabanas for breakfast that morning, and then our flight wasn't until 1:30 that afternoon. And so we actually just kind of hung out on the ship until they were like, everyone needs to leave. So we got an iced coffee and just sat and people watched and hung out. And then we got off the ship. We took Disney Cruise Line again back to the airport. It was very smooth. They helped us with our luggage. And then once we got out of the airport, everything else went great too. I mean, we did have a lot of time at the airport, but I was too chicken to book the earlier flight. I wish I had, and I probably would in the future, but I was just nervous about it. But it was great.
As you saw with Shanna.
Yes.
Things can happen.
Things can happen. But yeah, so that was our trip. I mean, in a nutshell, we had a great week. And thank you for helping me plan it, for making everything as smooth as possible. I mean, you did so much, all the footwork really for that trip. And so the 9 of us had a great experience, and you guys played a really big part of that.
It's a fun little job.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Okay. So I've got 3 last questions for you.
Okay.
So 1, thinking about your trip, what was the best thing?
The best thing, I would say the best moment for adult, like just our adults, was Remy. I mean, that was just a once in a lifetime experience. But I would say as a family with our kids, I really enjoyed our Castaway day because I felt like we could all be right there, but also together, but also doing different things that everyone really made them happy.
Yeah, good choice. Mm-hmm. And then if you could go back now, what's one thing you would change?
One thing I would change. I do wish we had maybe more time. I mean, we kind of just let the kids do what they wanted to do. So we did spend a lot of time like on the aqueduct, but on the Magic, and I think it's because we spent the whole time on the ship, I felt like we got to explore the whole ship. We got to go do some of the more activities that they offer during the day, like the drawing classes and the trivia and the dance parties. And this time we didn't do any of that. And I didn't even think about it until the end. And I was like, we didn't do any of it. And it was so funny because it made our experiences on both of the cruises so different. It's like I said, we did so much of that on the Magic. And so, like, for example, we didn't even make it to the sports deck at all, which the kids would have probably loved. But there's just so much to do and so much to offer, and you can't do it all. So yeah. I wish that we had maybe somehow carved out some time to do a little bit more of that.
It's true, though. You have to kind of know what you're prioritizing because you can't do everything. So, especially the Magic's a lot smaller.
It is. And the kids just loved that water slide. And then, they all took turns riding with each other because the raft holds 2 people. And so it was just really hard to peel them away from something that they enjoyed so much. So, but
I bet if you asked them, that was their favorite part. So just that priority.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They loved it. So.
And then my last question is, which I already kind of know, but what are your next vacation plans?
Yeah. So you and I are already well into the works of planning a quick 3-night cruise on the Wish in January because my son has those days off from school, those exact days, so we won't have to miss any school. And so we're meeting up with my sister-in-law, my mother-in-law, and then my nephew, who's only 2 months older than Ben. So they're essentially the exact same age. And so that's going to be a really fun. There's not going to be any babies. We're leave Maeve at home with Dad. And it's just going to be the big boys and moms and grandma. And so we're really excited for that experience.
Yeah. I'm excited to help you plan it. New ship.
Yes, new ship. And I'm excited. I think my sister-in-law are thinking about springing for the rainforest passes.
Good choice.
So, because I have not dabbled into the adult world on any ship. And so, because I, have an infant. And so I'm really excited to get to experience that. And being a little bit more independent, just because we'll just have the boys and they are very independent, can do their own things. So I feel like I'm going to be able to enjoy, even though it'll be, my 3rd cruise in a year, and it's probably like, well, don't you want to do something else? But I feel like it's probably going to be even a completely different experience than the first 2 were.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Yeah,
and I'm looking forward to continuing to help you plan your next cruise.
Yeah, me too. I really appreciate it, and thanks for all of your hard work.
And that's a wrap on our trip report today. If you enjoyed this trip report and would like to be featured on another trip report in our podcast, I do these exclusively with my clients. So make sure to send me an email. Our email addresses are linked in the show notes, and I would love to help you plan your next trip and have you featured on our podcast.
As always, be sure to follow, subscribe, and leave a comment and a review if you like this content or you want to hear about something else.
Until next week, I'm Kirsten.
And this is Chad.
Happy travels from all your ports and palaces.
This podcast is sponsored by Ports and Palaces Vacations. Whether you are wanting to check out a new port along a cruise line or see the palaces of Disney and Universal, our travel advisors make your dream trip a reality. Your next trip is just a click away.